Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the massive financial documents so you don't have to. Today we're dissecting Gilead Sciences' latest quarterly report, and boy do they have some interesting numbers to unpack. Let's dive right into Gilead Sciences' financial health as of June 30, 2025. First up, their balance sheet. Gilead ended the period with about $55.7 billion in total assets, which is a slight dip from December 2024's roughly $59 billion. A big chunk of that change seems to be a decrease in cash and cash equivalents, which dropped from nearly $10 billion down to nearly $22 billion. Up to $19.6 billion primarily driven by an increase in additional paid-in capital, and as well combat some short-term marketable debt securities for about $69 million. On the flip side, liabilities also decreased a bit, mostly due to paying down long-term debt, which went from around $24.9 billion down to nearly $22 billion up to $19.6 billion, primarily driven by an increase in additional paid-in capital. Now let's talk about how much money they actually made. For the 3 months ending June 2025, Gilead brought in over $7 billion in total revenue, an increase from about $6.9 billion the previous year. This growth was mostly thanks to higher sales of their HIV drugs like Biktarvy and Descovy, which saw double-digit increases. However, their liver disease products and Beckley for COVID-19 saw declines. Net income attributable to Gilead was up a solid 21% to nearly $2 billion for the quarter, meaning they are earning more money. For the 6-month period, total revenues also nudged up about 1% to nearly $13.7 billion. Here the story is similar with HIV sales carrying the load, but the real difference maker in the net income for the 6 months ending June 2025 is going from a significant loss of over $2.5 billion in 2024 to a profit of over $3.2 billion this year. This jump is largely due to the absence of massive charges like a $3.9 billion acquired in process R&D expense from a semi-influenced by these one-time massive expenses from the previous year. Maish due to the absence of massive charges like the $3.9 billion acquired in process R&D expense from their Sima Bay acquisition last year and a huge $2.4 billion impairment charge on Trodelvy assets that also happened last year. So while the operational performance looks better, the year-over-year comparison is heavily influenced by these one-time massive expenses from the previous year. Looking at their cash flow, it shows the company generated about $2.6 billion from operating activities during the first 6 months of the year. This is down from roughly $3.5 billion in the same period last year, mainly due to higher income tax payments and increased inventory purchases. Their investing activities used up about $2.5 billion in both periods, with the most recent one being for buying marketable debt securities, while last year it was heavily weighted towards acquisitions like Sima Bay and equity investments. Financing activities were a big cash drain this year, using up almost $5 billion, mostly for stock repurchases and debt repayments, down from about $4.3 billion last year. Let's quickly revisit the balance sheet to talk about their investments. Gilead holds about $7.2 billion in assets that are measured at fair value on a recurring basis. Most of this is in money market funds and publicly traded equity securities like their stake in Gilead Sciences Inc. 2022 equity incentive plan. They also have about $1.3 billion in corporate debt securities and $300 million in residential mortgage and asset-backed securities, all classified as level 2 assets, meaning their values are based on observable market data. Now for the cost side of things, cost of goods sold actually went down slightly, which is good. Research and development expenses, however, increased by 10% for the quarter, driven by higher clinical trial and manufacturing costs. The big story here, though, is the in-process research and development impairment, which was $190 million this quarter, related to their Bullivant pipeline. Selling, general and administrative expenses were relatively flat for the quarter, but decreased 5% for the 6-month period, mainly due to lower corporate initiatives and stock-based compensation costs from last year's acquisitions. Let's break down those revenue numbers by product even further. HIV products are Gilead's bread and butter, with Biktarvy sales climbing 9% and Descovy sales jumping a massive 35%. This strong performance in HIV is a positive sign for their core business. On the flip side, liver disease product sales dropped 4% for the quarter, and Beckley sales plummeted 44%, reflecting fewer COVID-19 hospitalizations. Oncology products showed mixed results, with cell therapy sales down 7% due to competition, but Trodelvy sales grew 14%. Gilead isn't without its risks, and they are very upfront about them. They face intense competition in the HIV market and acknowledge that their cell therapy products like Yescarta and Tecartus face significant manufacturing and logistical challenges. There's also regulatory risk and pricing pressure from government agencies, particularly with the Inflation Reduction Act potentially impacting Medicare drug negotiations and out-of-pocket cost caps. Then there's the legal side of things. Gilead is involved in patent litigation regarding their HIV drug Biktarvy and Veklury. They also face antitrust lawsuits related to their HIV drugs, alleging anti-competitive practices. While they reached a settlement in some of these cases for $525 million in 2023 and won some legal battles, they are still facing appeals. Product liability lawsuits related to kidney, bone and tooth injuries from drugs like Vureed and Truvada are also ongoing, with many active plaintiffs. They also had a government investigation into their promotional speaker programs for HIV, which was settled in April 2025. Looking at liquidity, Gilead appears to be in a strong position. They have over $5 billion in cash and cash equivalents and nearly $2 billion in marketable debt securities as of June 2025. They state they believe they can meet their capital needs for the next 12 months and beyond. Their capital priorities include investing in R&D, growing their dividend, and repurchasing shares. Overall, Gilead Sciences seems to be navigating a complex biopharmaceutical landscape. Their core HIV business remains strong, showing consistent growth driven by key products like Biktarvy and Descovy. However, they are facing headwinds in other areas, including declining sales for COVID-related treatments and increasing competition in oncology. The company is also heavily investing in R&D, which is seen with the impairment charges can lead to significant write-downs if projects don't pan out. Their strategy of acquisitions and collaborations continues, but brings its own risks and costs, especially with the integration of new assets and potential future impairments. The ongoing legal challenges and the evolving regulatory environment around drug pricing and global operations also present significant uncertainties that investors should watch closely. Based on the numbers, Gilead's core business is solid and they generated a good profit this quarter, but the reliance on a few key products and the ongoing R&D investments and associated risks are notable. The drop in cash on hand is a bit of a watch item, but seems to be a result of strategic debt repayment and stock repurchases. What's your take on Gilead's financial health and their future prospects? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into corporate filings. And don't forget to join our Discord community, linked in the description for more discussions and insights. Thanks for watching. See you next time.